Student Activity Council Presidential Debate. Today we welcome the three candidates running for the president position for the coming year. We have Helen Chen in the middle, we have Nelson Lee on the left, and Ariz Kaki on the right. And thank you all for being here. You guys already done so much running, and you guys have a lot of confidence and courage to do so. So give a big round of applause. So the format of the debate will be kind of simple. Each candidate will first give an opening statement of about 30 seconds. Afterwards, I will ask a question to each of the candidates. They each will have 1 minute to answer the question, followed by 3 to 5 minutes of open discussion once each candidate has had his or her turn. If any candidate is mentioned in the open discussion in one of the statements by another candidate, the mentioned candidate will have the ability to respond after the statement has concluded. When you hear the sound, it means your time is up, and the candidate speaking will have 10 seconds to wrap up his statement. I do not want to repeat myself, so don't make me press this button more than once. As much as I want to keep asking questions to these three candidates, this will also be open to those sitting in the audience. This is an open opportunity for you guys to answer, give questions to the candidates, or if you have a specific question, you can ask that as well. We were supposed to be live streaming, but not anymore, I guess. So the candidates will answer in a similar fashion unless the question is directed towards a specific candidate, in which case the candidate will answer and only that goes. We will begin with 30 seconds opening statements. Let's begin with Ariz.
Thank you. So my name is Ariz. I'm going to be running to be your student council president for next year. This year I served as the external affairs officer on the student council, and there are many problems I recognize within the council, both internally and externally. I'm pretty sure both candidates here can agree on some. And that is obviously the main pressing issue of communication and student involvement. And what I believe is that council serves the students, and thus the students' feedback should ultimately shape up policy for the candidates. Thus, my biggest platform is to redefine the Garner experience according to what the students would like. And I believe doing so, we can shape our policies, and especially as elected, I can shape the policies of our future government to better reflect that demographic of the students and the interests of the students. Because at the end of the day, we're not serving ourselves, but we're serving the student body.
Next, Helen Chen.
Okay, personally, I'd like to thank all of you guys so much for coming here today, because even coming here shows your dedication and willingness to make the school better. So my name is Helen Chen. I'm in grade 11, and I'm ready to be your SAC president as well. If you haven't seen my posters around the school, I could give you a really quick overview of what's in my platform. So first of all, I'd like a lot more opportunities. Example, volunteer fairs, job opportunity fairs, workshops so you can ace that job interview, as well as college and university fairs at Mark Garneau. And I'm thinking Lisa for starting the house colors this year, and I'd like to expand on that next year with actually mascots for the different houses. So instead of just saying go red team, you can say go mascot, and you can design those posters. As well as I really like to focus a lot on mental health, because I know a lot of students, they might be under a lot of stress either because of school or family, and I'd like to address that, have more open meetings so you guys could really share your ideas with us. And so ultimately that's a really short recap of my platform. I was a past grade 11 rep and grade 10 rep, and apart from my platform, I'd like to hear from you. So apart from my platform, if you guys have any ideas to make the school better, please contact me, and I'd love to hear how to make the school better with you guys. Thank you so much.
Finally, we have Nelson's opening statement.
Great. Hey everyone, my name is Nelson Lee, and I'm running to be your SAC president. Over the past 2 years, I served as your grade 9 ambassador and your grade 10 representative. And most recently, I was on the team behind this year's pep rally and an international show. During that time, I've noticed much of the untapped potential our school has. And I also seen our washrooms fall into a state of disrepair, escalating the issue from a student complaint to a health and safety issue. As president, I would like to improve our washrooms, drastically increase our spirit with more pep rallies, and unify our communication. So together we can bring real, meaningful change. Thanks, guys.
So my first question is, you guys all made a lot of promises in your platforms, and you made promises that you think will change the school environment for the better. But many SAC presidents in the past have made promises without fulfilling them. How will you hold yourself accountable? Let's start with Nelson.
So pretty much when I was making my platform a few weeks ago, I was just thinking about what we can do to improve our school. Essentially, every single goal and every single thing that I promise on my platform is what we in DECA would call a SMART goal. For people who don't know, that's an acronym. The S standing for specific, the M for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, and T for time bound. Every single one of my goals can be achieved within this year. I'm not here to make any big, grandiose promises that I can't keep. Everything that I do is to improve on what we already have, because we don't need to start a new thing without improving what we have right now. So I hope that answers your question, Julian.
Let's move to Helen.
For sure. So when I actually design my platform, I don't just think of like what I think the students want. I actually communicate with students, looked at what they want to see in the school. And some students were talking to me about like they don't have that many volunteer hours. They want to get involved in the community, but they don't know in which way they can do so. And some of my friends, they were in grade 10. They only had like 0 or 2 hours. And so that's how I found out that volunteer fairs would be really effective at Margarno. So that's one of my main promises that I'm going to fulfill in September if I become elected SAC president. As well, like other than my platform, if I get elected president, I really want to have a feedback form so the students can really, example, vote on which promises do they think are the most important, and if they have any other ideas that they like to contribute. And so together we can really look at what the students want, what I think the students want, and we can put it together to make about 3 to 4 big goals that everyone can achieve and everyone be happy with.
And finally, we have Louise.
Yeah, so when designing my platform, I basically looked at the main concerns of the Garno students currently by analyzing Lisa's endeavors in the previous year with the house clerk system. I decided to take what we have at Garno right now and find ways to improve it. So there are many things that we can do to keep SAC accountable, especially the president at the head. And I believe that one is transparency amongst the student body, because in effective democracy, a democracy can't simply function with the government at the forefront and not the people not telling them anything. And at the same time, the people should have the ability to speak their voices, and if there's not a clear system or transparent system to do so, then both sides are misinformed. It seems as if the way SAC is currently being run is more like a one-way kind of road. Like there's only one way that the SAC functions, and we basically always think what we're doing is the right way, but we really don't know, because the most effective way for any leader or any organization to execute is to do market research, and that simply is to take your decisions. You should go back, reflect on how the people react amongst your decisions, and you can go from there. So yeah, when designing my goals, I covered it with administration, and I looked over all these goals, and they are very measurable, and they're very specific, and they're very attainable as well, not just far-fetched.
Okay. Now the floor is open for debate. If anyone wants to start, go ahead.
Okay, I think for the debate, am I allowed to ask for student feedback on certain issues, or would it just be between us?
It would be, you could ask a question to the student body if you would like.
Well, I think I should probably start since we have quite a long period of awkward silence right now. So pretty much when I was making my platform, one of the things that I did was I went out to teachers and students and did surveys. And the biggest thing that we found was the issue was washrooms was the #1 issue. And the second issue was lack of interest and lack of involvement within the school. After many projects done by multiple grade 12 classes about data management and etc., I took those findings and found that our washrooms are the biggest key that we have to improve on, because it's not a one-time event. Everyone needs to use the washrooms sometime, and it's a part of daily life here at Garneau. And by improving that, we can make the entire Garneau experience just a better place.
Okay, can I respond to that, please? Sure. Okay, so that's true. I believe that washrooms are a really big idea, and it's a great idea. However, sometimes it's kind of out of our student control, because sometimes it's a TDSB which controls like the washrooms, like all the different facilities, like tissue papers. Because I went to old school, and I found that the washrooms are quite similar, and I agree that we should do something on the washrooms. But I think what's more important, or what I think students would like more, is to actually get involved in SAC. Because I talked to a lot of students, and they were like, oh, I didn't even know that there was an unhealthy food sale when I was campaigning. And I was like, wait, how did you not know about that? We posted on Facebook, we made a few announcements. So for next year, what I really hope to do is really expand the student network and really communicate with them a lot better, either through social media, either talking to them in person, with better announcements, and to really engage the student body in different aspects.
Yeah. So just in terms of what Nelson mentioned about the whole washroom thing and what Helen mentioned that is out of our reach, I would have to say that yes, the washrooms are like a big problem within our school. Like if not having a sanitary washroom in a facility is kind of like disgusting, and it's really unsanitary. But at the same time, this problem has been pressing Garneau for about probably 2 decades or even more than that. So not saying that everyone previously who's taken up on this issue hasn't approached admin or hasn't approached students or hasn't approached any higher authority doesn't mean that Nelson, speaking specifically to when you mentioned the whole idea of like covering it up with admin, it doesn't always effectively mean that stuff is going to happen right away. Like I agree like with Nelson, like I like his endeavor. I believe all of us support that. But at the same time, it's out of our control and it's really long and a bureaucratic process, and it's sometimes out of our hands completely. We're in a public school education system. Yes, we can make suggestions. Young people have a voice to be heard, but at the same time, at times we just have to make a suggestion. We can work hard at it too, but I'm just putting it out there that probably have been many people in the past who tried. There are plenty of YouTube videos you can go online and search up of people signing petitions, of people getting so much support, and nothing has been done.
I would like to respond to that, Julian. One of the key things about this washroom issue was that I was working on it while I was campaigning right now. A few weeks ago, I went to Ms. Goldberg and asked for her permission to continue with this, because everything that I want to do should be achievable and should be done in the end. I didn't want to propose an idea that I can't realistically do. So if you ask Ms. Goldberg, she is completely on board with the idea. We have filmed videos of the insides of the washroom that we'll be posting very soon today. As well, addressing the issue of how we can do it bureaucratically. One of the key things about the issue and why it's not at its great standard is the lack of communication between students, SAC, admin, caretakers, and we need to fix these issues, and I have a way to do that. One of the things that Helen mentions about communication is that, yes, we have different social medias, and some people may have Instagram, some people may have Snapchat, Facebook, but some people might not have any of them. So what we need to do, and what I propose, is that we create a SAC website. Pretty much this is a place where you could go to see what events are coming up, anything that we can do, as well as it's a great way, it's a live forum for people to report any issues within the washrooms or anywhere outside of the school.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that. So first of all, if you guys seen their platform, so I want to have more open meetings, so I want to have one monthly open meeting. So example, you guys are really interested, even if you're not running, in making the school better, you could actually come to our meetings. And if not, I'm going to start a Tell Us MGCI form. So if you guys heard of Undercover Kindness, you can leave like positive feedbacks anytime. So I kind of want that sort of thing, except for with MGCI. So if you're a club, you want to hold a large scale event, and you might not have the funding, you might want some SAC support, then you can actually collaborate with us, and we'd be happy to make your event or whatever you want to do to make the school better actually happen. As well, just a question about the...
Hamara Sadat, if you're in the school, please come to the office. Hamara Sadat, come to the office, please.
I was actually just curious, so how are you exactly going to make the washrooms better, and how are you going to track the progress into exactly how that's going to happen?
Well, the key thing with the washrooms right now is at times it's the odor, there's the lack of toilet paper, sometimes the soap doesn't work, it's dirty. It's a mess right now, to be honest with you guys. How do we do this and how do we track this? The thing is, we already have other schools within the TDSB who has taken this initiative and have done it successfully. Earl Haig Secondary School is the biggest school within the TDSB. It has over 3,000 students, and they've taken on this initiative this year with drastic improvements to their washrooms. So what I want to do with my website is that with this live forum, immediately, if there's no toilet paper, let's say you are on the 3rd floor girls' washroom, you just write that. Is there toilet paper? You just check off, yes or no. Is there soap? Yes or no. And this is a great way for us as student council to hear the students live.
Do you mind if I respond to that?
Sorry,
Or...
I'm going to move on to the next
Okay, yeah,
question.
that's
That's okay. So you guys talked a little bit about how you would hold yourselves accountable to your plan and how you mentioned how you would achieve those goals as well. But student council is more than just the president. It's a combination of all of the positions put together. So one of your responsibilities is to overlook the rest of the positions. So how do you plan on holding the rest of SAC accountable for their actions? And let's start with Elise.
Okay, so two things. So first is I would like to redefine the role of the chairperson within the council. So the chairperson actually chairs all our meetings, leads the meetings, and records all meeting minutes. Records all meeting minutes, at the same time monitors council activity within the meetings. And thus, I would like to rebrand the whole nature of the chairperson to be kind of like a SAC watchdog. In essence, that is really monitoring conveners and their responsibilities and basically tracking them and tracking their progress and their tasks given to them at the end of every meeting. And if it comes to a point of holding people accountable, like there have been like many instances of countless warnings and countless occasions where people, like executives as the president, must interfere and must set strict deadlines to make sure that stuff is met. And simply by setting strict deadlines and those deadlines are not met and just simply taking executive action and removing that person from a position, the task is still not done. As a result, my idea is to take both steps simply by taking executive action, removing that person from the position, and having someone to actually fulfill the responsibility.
Okay, let's move to Helen.
Okay, for sure. So first of all, I know some students are running for like athletic convener or example, they're taking care of international show. An example, you're taking into account international show or like grad committee. Well, for those ones, like you are active like for a majority part of the year, but you're especially active in example like June or May or April for like prom. But like for those students who are like mostly active in like one certain like chunk of the year, I actually still want to give them tasks to do as well. Because sometimes this is not just about like having position, putting on your resume or something like that. I think of it as an experience. So like, even though you're like in charge of athletics, for example, maybe you could still help with the pep rally. Maybe you could still help talking to the student community, helping with mental health initiatives. So you're not like restrained to one specific role, and you could actually like develop your personal growth in SAC. As well as attendance is a big issue, so I really want to make sure that we have the three strike rule, so to really make sure that the students or the execs are always at the attendance meetings. As well as sometimes, example, they have some like personal reasons or because of school stress, I'd actually communicate with them to ask, why were you here? Would you need any help? Or to actually really communicate with them on a one-to-one level.
Great. So answering your question, Julian, one thing that I did as grade rep this year was actually work with every single one of our conveners. Our social conveners with planning Fall Fest and making videos for it, working with our spirit convener, making our house color point system, etc., etc. Thing is, I have worked with all of our conveners, and the thing is, we have built great relationships over the year. So that's what I hope to do as president, because student council is a collection of amazing, talented people who are willing to put their own time to help you guys, the students. So pretty much when I become president and how to keep people accountable, thing is we have to make sure that they attend meetings. And we will take executive action if such actions weren't met. And the thing is, with accountability, as a president, I will always be in the SAC office during my lunch for the next year. And I will make that pledge. Unless there is another meeting that I have to attend, I will always be there. And that's how we keep our SAC accountable.
The floor is again open to discuss the accountability of other SAC members. So you can begin. If anyone wants to take the floor, it is yours.
Okay, for sure. So we talked a lot about like attendance and making sure people are always working. So I feel like sometimes we just go to the SAC meetings, and sometimes like there's not as much communication outside of these SAC meetings. So do you guys have any like ideas about like constantly communicating with the other SAC members? Example, they need any help, really supporting them, like having daily check-ins to make sure that they're actually completing their tasks.
Of course, that's why by being always in the SAC office, for any student or SAC member who needs guidance, who needs help, I will always be there. As well as another thing that I would like to do is to revamp our SAC office, to make it more of a place where people can go and communicate with each other. Right now, before we cleaned it after international show, if you guys have been in there, it is a mess. It's hard to walk by. There's there's spills, there's oil on the ground. So pretty much as president, I would like to improve that and make it a meeting place for everyone to go. Because right now, there's no set place for SAC people to go. So let's referring back to the attendance issue. I would like to bring up the fact that when I was going through the secretary minutes, a few of us on stage have not been following the 3-strike rule.
Yeah, so in terms of one thing about accountability, I feel is, Nelson's point about sitting in the SAC office and just being there, approachable for the student body. I understand that. Like as a president, we have to first of all get rid of our biases as members of student council. Sometimes we are part of groups in the school that are, maybe we're probably just new to student politics or just we have different interest areas. And before we start, we have to basically just neutralize ourselves to be people of non-bias. And as a result, we have to build relationships. As Nelson said, as a president, you are the face of the student council, you are in charge, and you have to make sure that you are speaking for the remainder of the student council, and you have to establish relationships, because student council is simply not a task after school. It becomes really a way to form lifelong friendships, and thus having that friendship instead of like fear-monger really motivates SAC members, because ultimately SAC members want to do activities and want to fulfill their responsibilities out of the pure reasoning of making a difference in the schools. I believe that the president first has to remove the bias that they have towards certain groups of students, and we can go from there.
Okay, can I respond to that? Okay, sometimes people think, oh, SAC is like above the school, but to be honest, I feel like SAC is actually under you guys because we're serving you. We're trying to make your school and your experience a lot better. And so that's why, apart from just sitting in the SAC office, I'd actually really communicate with those people, seeing those corners who might not be engaged with with whatever's going on in the school. Because especially when I was campaigning, I was talking to people, they were like, wait, what's international show? Or like, there's this, there was a SAC fair, or sorry, not SAC fair, the food fair, the unhealthy food sales. And so they were actually not aware of those things going on in school that we obviously think, oh, shouldn't everyone know? So that's why, apart from sitting in the SAC office, I actually communicate with everyone on each of the floors, letting them know on what's going on in the school so they can actually actively contribute to what's happening. And to touch those who are not as active or those who are kind of quiet, because I believe that everyone matters. Thank you so much.
Looks like we're done with that question. So SAC obviously is an organization or a part of the school that has been with the school for a long time, and every year we tend to try to improve on what the last guard didn't do very efficiently and try to emulate what they did well. So what are your thoughts on the aspects of SAC that has performed inefficiently and needs improvement or change completely for the next year, and how do you plan on doing that? So let's start with Nelson, if you want to go.
Well, after working very hard this year as a grade 10 representative and working very closely with Lisa, what I've realized with SAC is that we are doing things in a good manner. It's just that we can improve on it. And a phrase that I like to use is that Gardner has a lot of untapped potential. The potential is there in every single one of you guys, and in SAC and in clubs as well. But how do we release that? How do we put that potential into action and see it work? With every single plan that we have to make small incremental changes. For example, taking the house color system, which was a phenomenal success this year, I want to continue that by having just free merch for people who come in the school year in their house color, so people can actually recognize each other within the school. They say, oh wow, you're from Blue House, we have a new event coming up soon, we need a B, Red House, etc., etc.
Okay, or Reese can go first. I've been talking a lot, so Reese can go first.
Yeah, Reese, if you want.
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
So what are some aspects of SAC that you think needs improvement or needs to be changed completely, and how do you plan on doing that?
Okay, so yeah, I think all of us agree here when we liked Lisa's whole revolutionary idea of the house color system. I believe the implementation was really nice initially, and some people, the problem is of the awareness of the house color system. Some people feel like talking to the Garnell students, some people say it was, some people would say it was too forced, or some people didn't know about it, or some people really didn't know what the whole point of the house color system was, what they're going to get at the end of the year, a prize, a trophy. So I feel like this whole idea of talking to the people we serve comes in handy, because at the end of the day, our SAC, of course, we launched our MGCI house color system, but not that many of us actually followed through for what the SAC system was supposed to be. At the same time, there are many things within our within the house color system that we can improve on, possibly even reintegrating it into different aspects of student life, not necessarily just socially, but we can look into more things like academically, or we can look into things like student participation, student endeavors, student contribution to the external community, and by doing so, we are taking feedback from the student body.
Okay, and finally we have Helen's.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to thank Lisa again for the house colors. And for next year, I really want to expand on that by having mascots. Because sometimes people are like, go red house, go yellow house. That doesn't sound like the best, right? So we really want to have students have pride in whatever colors they represent. And so I want the students to actually design their own mascots, come up with the mascot names, vote on them, so there's more student participation in that sense. And when we have these great assemblies, which was great this year, which I hope to continue, as well as pep rallies, they can actually feel pride in whatever color or mascot they're standing for. Another thing was I talked to some students who are like, international show or buying show tickets. The line is always really long, it's always really cramped, they can't get their tickets, and they still want to get involved. So how should that work? So I was thinking of potentially having online tickets that we could use using Eventbrite, so the students won't have to be in that clump, and then some students not getting tickets who really want it, and there was a lot of mess with that this year. Another thing is mental health. I believe that's a really big issue in our school. Even just going to the girls' bathrooms, looking at like some of the messages that are on the toilets, the stalls. And so what I really want to do as SAC president next year is I want to focus a lot more on mental health and making sure we're in a really positive and welcoming community.
Again, the floor is open to discuss.
Great. So bringing up the long lines for international show, one of my major spirit initiatives and what I want to do as president is to create an MGCI seasons pass. So essentially at the beginning of the school year, you just pay up front. You pay a certain amount of money and you can go to any single dance within our school year without paying again. You get to skip the lines. You get to just go directly. You don't even need to register again because you already have registered. And referring back to the issue of how we can improve our school, we have to take it step by step, piece by piece, because our school has multiple problems that are minute, but we have to make sure that we take these in a small incremental steps. Because as we all know, being present and being on SAC does not mean that we all have to make some huge idea to improve our school. We could do it piece by piece, step by step.
Just a quick question to Nelson, actually, two quick questions. So the first one is, I think you mentioned the house color merchandise to be free. And how are you somehow standardizing the cards? Like, is there research that you're going to be doing? Are you going to be standardizing all the dances to be some sort of like hall booked working with the social convener?
Yes, so that's pretty much what I want to do as president. As president, after in August, pretty much I will want to be here at school every single day, and I'll be inviting all SAC members who are elected and selected to come in as well, so we can actually plan the dances before a school year even starts. Because working closely with Look at Us, it was really sad that we had to cancel Spring Fling, not because of her work, but because of the lack of communication that we had with the students. So when we have dances planned beforehand, few months beforehand, we know when we should start announcing, when we should start promoting the activities. And to your question, Louise.
Okay, can I please answer that? Respond to that answer. Okay, so first of all, you said that you wanted a seasons pass. So what if, like, example, one day I'm really sick and I'm not able to attend because of whatever reason, or like sometimes things happen and maybe like the venue suddenly they're like, oh, we can't do this anymore, or whatever happens. Like, how are you going to deal with the refunds? Because not all the like the dances are the same price. How are you going to deal with that? Because that was an issue we faced this year.
So pretty much talking about the seasons pass, yes, if you do miss a dance, the seasons pass is not the most optimal if you only go to, let's say, one dance. But if you go to at least 2 or 3 or even all of them, then it is very convenient for you. For students who do not go to dances, one way that we could promote spirit within the school is to not only have our house color system, but to add on that. So pretty much we will be having activities during lunch in the cab, on stage, where we could just go there every single day, where every day you could earn maybe 1 or 2 points, but in the end, that increments and adds up to a whole lot of spirit within our school.
Okay, so I think a lot of times like we're making kind of assumptions on like what the student body really wants. So like if I do become elected SAC president before I actually like before September, so like that'd be like June-ish, I'd actually have a feedback form on what you guys would like to see in the school. Because oftentimes we're making assumptions like you guys want these activities or like you guys want these things, but sometimes it's just our opinion and you guys might not want that. You guys might want something else that we may have not thought of. So I think we shouldn't really limit our platform onto like exactly what we have, and we should really broaden it up. Something else is grade 9 orientation is a great way to really use the house color system and let the incoming grade 9s really know about like the school spirit. So I really hope to like go to the grade 9 orientation, go to grade 10, 11, and 12 to let them know about the house color system, about like the different mascots, and so they're really prepped for that at the beginning of the year.
Well, I'm pretty sure if all of you guys are for seniors that you guys are going to university, in the first week of university, there's always a thing called Frosh Week. It's a place where the seniors of that university come in, invite you, and you for a whole week, you just experience the school, every single aspect of that school. I want to do that here at Mark Arnault because let me ask you guys a question. How welcoming was it in grade 9 when you guys were coming in? Did you guys feel particularly attached to the school, or were you like, maybe this is just another part of my adolescent life? Well, pretty much what we can do with the house color system is with this Frosh Week is that we can actually improve on our house color system with it, because we could have grade 9s immediately involved within this system, and it's a great system for them to be involved in as well.
Okay, just a question about that. So every year we have like 500 students in each grade, and so that you want to make an entire week, so that'd be before school starts. And how would you exactly execute that? And what would you exactly have? How would you measure the success? And how would you ensure that happens? Because like we don't have school over the summer.
That's true. And this is why this is happening in the first week of school for the grade 9s. If you guys probably, for me, it's last year. So I still remember in the first week of grade 9, it was crazy. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where my gym class was, even though it was on the first floor. I didn't know where any of my classes were. By having this frosh week, people could get oriented with around the school. They could learn about the clubs that we have and everything else that comes with an introduction week. And how to execute this? Well, we are working on it as of now with admin to make sure that this happens.
Okay. So just a quick comment. You don't have to ask me if you can respond to anything.
Oh,
just
okay.
So your platforms all mention many ways to improve school spirit. It's one of your main ones. They all seem to mention the word more pep rallies, more events, more apparel, more of everything. Do you think this more is achievable? And anyone else, if you wanted to go first.
Sure, I guess I will. So pretty much when talking about spirit and more, the thing about the word more is that it's not particularly specific. The thing is, as of now, I have not been able to, because, well, the spirit convener and every other elected position has not been elected except for that. It is difficult to see what we can do as a SAC community. As well as talking about spirit, one of the things that with our school is that people aren't particularly involved in lots of things. I want to make it so Garneau feels like your home. It feels like where you want to be and a school where you can be proud of, because truly it is your home for the 4 years of high school here. And I want to make every single day pleasurable, starting from the ground up.
Reese, if you want to respond.
Yeah, so the subject of more, like, obviously has appeared in many of our platforms. But what I believe is certain is the fact that this year we experienced, as previously mentioned on the stage several times, the house color system, the implementation of the house color system, and the first pep rally all centered around this idea of school cohesion and house color competition, and to foster competition within the school to generate some sort of spirit. So we've actually spoken about this plenty of times in our SAC meetings, where we said the whole phrase of how, like, Lisa has planted the seed, and it's up to us as future SACs to kind of grow and implement this and becoming a regular thing within our school. So in terms of our school, I'm pretty sure many of us agree, is that Garneau is a very diverse school. There's plenty of students coming from all different types of backgrounds, and there's many differences in between Garneau. Our goal is, as SAC president, but not just as SAC president, as SAC in general, as the mainstream student body, we should include those that seem less involved within our school community, even if you're not in student council, but to simply say, hey, are you interested in joining this team or this team? To foster this kind of, this reasoning of identity will ultimately lead to more reasoning in the future, whether it be to join student council or to take action within your school.
Finally, Helen.
Okay, sure. So I think apart from just saying more like spirit, I think it's better spirit, because we already have spirit, like we already know that. But I think it's just about building up on those. So example somewhere we could start is like you guys actually designing your own sweaters and t-shirts and voting on them. So it's about what the student body wants. Something else is that example of pep rallies, it's a lot centered around like sports or like a specific sport, but we have to recognize that not everyone likes like soccer or not everyone likes volleyball. So like we actually need to make it more inclusive. So not just make like certain events just around sports or just around arts, because that's not going to touch everyone around the school. So I think that's where like spirit really comes from the school community. And if I actually get elected SAC president, I'd love to actually talk to the students to see what they like, because just creating like a lot of events that no one goes to, that's not building a school spirit, because we need to build on school spirit, and that's it starts with the students.
The floor has been spoken.
So I'm surprised that you opened up the discussion of designing sweaters. Both the reason I were there for that process and yourself as well during our sweater designs for the beginning of first semester. I would just like to pose a quick question. How fast can you get those sweaters out? Because we don't need people to having sweaters in May, like right now, where it's so hot that we're all like sweating in here without any air conditioning. We need to find a way so we can get those sweaters out, so we can build the spirit from day one. As well, I would like to ask a question to Arise. Since you were external affairs officer this year, I'd just like to know how many sweaters that we've sold and what the profit was that we made this year.
Okay, so for sure. So I could first, I can respond to that. So sweaters, that was just one of the ideas I had, but it really depends on school body. Like sometimes, example, senior sweaters, you guys want to have something to remember, or example, like a T-shirt where people could sign like the back of the T-shirts, so you have something like to take back from the year. And so that would really depend on like the school, like what the school really wants. Because in the past, some students, example, seniors have really like sweaters, so that would really depend on what the student body hopes for, and we designed that based on that. So like hopefully, if people want sweaters, we get them by like January.
Yeah, so answering Nelson's question, we sold approximately about 65 regular MGCI student body sweaters this year, and the profit came out to being a bit blurry because of the whole recent minimum wage increase. And thus we're looking at projecting about at least $100 worth of profit, but like I said, that number is subject to change because of the minimum wage increase. But just a question to Helen about this sweater whole thing. If you're opening up, like I said, we all agree that we're working for the student body,
Yes.
but you can't really satisfy everyone. Not to say no one matters, but at the same time, if the process becomes very long, and as Nelson mentioned, if we're going to ask the student body to voice our opinions on a multitude of things, whether they be sweaters or even events in general, how are we to succumb to how are we to narrow down what feedback is taken and what feedback is denied? Because ultimately it goes back to this idea of, are we really including everyone's voice? It's going to become more politicized.
Okay, for sure. So that's a pretty, how many minutes do I have to answer that question? Because that's a bit big. Okay, so for example, like for the sweaters, right? So I feel like example, like we have like different voting systems for like a lot of different things. What happens is it's always the same students voting, and what's happening is we're not actually communicating with the students who are sitting at lunch. Like they probably, sometimes they don't have anything to do, and they don't really know what's happening around the school. So we actually go up to them and talk to them about like, oh, so we have these sweaters, are you interested in voting? We could get better student voting. Because example, even for like voting for SAC or voting for like sweaters, we actually have a really, really low voter turnout. So what I really hope to achieve next year is have a lot more student involvement in that sense. And as for the different feedback that we want, first of all, I think we should have a real open meeting. The first meeting that we have a SAC, it should be open so that the students can voice like some of their main ideas on what they want to see in the school. And because we think we should really have, like example, we had the ambassador program that was quite inactive. I think what we should do is have the ambassadors, if we were to implement that again, if the student body believes that it's effective, is have the SAC ambassadors really help us like design the different events, talk to the student body, talk to their friends, and like what feedback they would like to see in the school, and like focus on the main ones and really design projects with us in the school. And because we think we should really have, like example, we had the ambassador program that was quite inactive. I think what we should do is have the ambassadors, if we were to implement that again, if the student body believes that it's effective, is have the SAC ambassadors really help us like design the different events, talk to the student body, talk to their friends, and like what feedback they would like to see in the school, and like focus on the main ones and really design projects with us. They'd be working with us to make that happen.
So we would correlate
Yes.
based on what feedback.
So get a lot more students like in that.
And talk about the ambassador system.
Yes.
That was one of the things that I was working mainly on this year, to reintroduce that for the next year. Because I know that there are only 14 SAC positions and 4 grade reps. But to have our whole school involved within, we need people from grade 9 to 12 because, well, grade 9s can't get elected into office because, well, they aren't here right now. So pretty much with the ambassador system, what I hope to achieve with that is that everyone feels involved, everyone can join if they want to, and we can actually make a great system with that, because promotion needs to happen with everyone involved, not just a few selected people who are involved, but we need to make sure that everyone knows of these details and everyone knows what's happening.
Yeah, not just like for grade 9s, but even for grade 10s, 11s, and 12s who want to become part of SAC, who aren't elected or are not grade reps. They may feel like, oh, talking to SAC is like intimidating. Like, how do I get involved? I can't get involved at all. So that's like another reason to hold the SAC ambassadors, so that more students who might not even be like, they might not want to be president, they might not have like the time, or they still want to contribute to the school, they all can do that with the SAC ambassadors.
Okay. So you guys talked about the importance and shortcomings of the word more. So what, if anything, should we have less of? And we can start with the reason.
I feel like what we should have less of is I guess, getting our hands into too many things that we cannot really swallow. In essence, like, I believe the success of our student council comes with the faith in our executives. Yes, of course, the president is there to lead the student council, to steer the direction of the student council in terms of fostering a discussion, taking in multiple opinions, always having a neutral voice within the meetings to simply have many sides collaborating. But at the same time, I believe we should have faith within our executives, and I'm pretty sure both sides here mentioned the fact that we all believe that the remaining execs that are elected are capable people. We don't deem them to be not capable. So having this idea of micromanagement to simply pass the task on to, let's say, a spirit convener for him or her to have their own committee, being active in the event, is to simply have more things done more quicker, in the sense that it makes the thing less bureaucratic. Of course, the president should always be there to keep the check and to follow up. There have been plenty of multitudes of experiences I've had in the past where I had to worked in organization, whether it be through student-run companies, etc., where as the president, as a leadership role, I would have to follow up with many other people who didn't always seem to agree with me. But that's the whole point, is I feel like if we empower executives, they feel like they're motivated to do something, not because they are fear-mongering, but they're just doing it out of the sake of really making a difference.
Oh, yeah, so pretty much when we were talking about what should we have less of, we need less barriers, less biases, less stereotypes. Pretty much that's what we need less of. Because right now, people feel that they are divided because of their grade, their race, their culture, religion, or programs. We need to make sure there's less of that. And by having a house color system, everyone feels involved. And with having Frosh Week and increased spirit from grade 9, people don't come into the school with preconceived notions and biases. As well, what the president needs less of is less other commitments. So that's why I, here on stage, I pledge that I will resign from any other executive positions I hold within the school and outside. And I hope that everyone on stage can do the same.
Anyone wants to?
Okay, for sure, yeah. So, like he said, already said, I think we should focus on several goals, not have too many goals, especially sometimes we don't want to hold too many events or too many parties. I think we should really focus on making the quality of them a lot better, because sometimes we are trying to do too many things, and sometimes the student bodies example, there are 5 parties, not every student's able to afford all of those things. Or not every student is able to afford all these sweaters or t-shirts. So we should make that a lot more accessible. And another thing is, we should have less students afraid to act, because I know a lot of students, even in my grade, who are I want to contribute, but I'm scared that I'll be judged, or people will judge me, or people will welcome my opinions. And so yes, I agree that we should have less stereotypes, we should have less biases, we should really merge the grades together and form more connections, not just between the people in one grade, but also people of different grades. Another thing is, I feel we should have people should be less afraid of having example mental health problems, or being afraid to speak up to anyone, to us, or to their family or friends. And so that's why we should break a lot of those barriers, so students feel more welcome to express their opinions and feel more welcome at the school.
So is no one willing to take up my pledge that we should, as president of Mark Garneau, that should be our main priority and our only priority? Because serving students is quite tiresome, and it takes a lot of time. After international show, working with Rafay, Ali Bokhari, Zaman for weeks on end, and leaving international show at 11 o'clock at night, I know that for myself, I cannot continue having any other positions within the school or outside of it without putting SAC and my presidency at bay. So I hope that you guys could follow up with this as well.
Just to say, just not a thing rudeness, but you're not the only one that left at 11. Just
yes,
not out of rudeness, but yeah, I completely agree with Nelson that the presidency of student council and our school academics also come first as well, right? We have taken this pledge. All of us have experience on SAC, and the reason why we took this is because we technically know the magnitude firsthand about what we have to do as student council. And I personally would say that I agree with Nelson completely, that whatever in-school or out-school commitments I have regarding anything that will conflict with my time being student council president, I can easily push back, because I know the fact that many people will obviously tell you in high school that many people take on lots of extracurriculars just to put something on their resume. But to simply take one thing and be the best at it, be the best in a certain focus area is the most ideal thing to do. And I feel like Nelson and I think Helen will also agree that simply putting your time to one thing and being the best at that is ultimately the ideal thing to do. And I'm all for that, because I believe in this idea of not spreading yourself thin, but rather putting yourself in one focused area and taking that.
I think we're gonna have one more question, and before we open it up
Can I
to
not respond to that?
okay.
That's, I feel like
if you
it should
want
be
to.
addressed. Okay,
Could you
so first of all, first of all, I don't think you should make any assumptions. Like, definitely, I'm gonna make SAC a really big priority, but I don't think you should just assume that because other people have like different academics or different extracurriculars, they aren't able to deliver the final product, because sometimes like everyone is different. And I feel like a lot of the extracurriculars that I had leading up to this, it really built a lot of my leadership skills, like being able to hold events, working with different people, like taking big risks, and yeah. So I'll definitely like put SAC as a priority, but I definitely don't think you should make any assumptions that our past extracurriculars are going to negatively affect us in any way.
I'm not talking about past, I'm talking about current. Helen, you are president of FBLA,
Yeah.
right? So FBLA is one of the biggest business organizations in Canada and around the world. By being president of FBLA, how can you keep both of those commitments and our students at first glance?
I'm going to respond to that. Okay. So first of all, through FBLA, so this year was quite a rough year because we had to like sign up as a new nonprofit. We had to get a new director, but the next year it's gonna be a lot easier because we already built up a huge network of students, and we already built up the actual nonprofit, so it's gonna be a lot easier. And I've been always able to build like handle my time wisely and get like good marks. So I don't think that's gonna be a really big problem as for me.
I'm gonna stop it there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask one more question before
Yeah.
opening it up to the crowd. I don't think we're gonna have an open discussion for this one. But in 1 minute, could you how do you differentiate yourself from the other two candidates? And we can start with Reese if you want to go.
Yeah, so I personally would like to say that before I start, I believe both candidates on the stage are just as capable as I am. But in terms of where I differ is, I believe that a new approach has to be taken in a sense of making SAC more transparent to the student body. As previously mentioned, the whole idea is that more people are afraid to approach SAC. And me being as a leader, I have had multitude of experiences working with different types of people. Not all the time that they agree with me or everything has gone like, really that, like everything has not always been rainbows and sunshine. But at the same time, I believe that having a multitude of experiences, dealing with multitudes of people with different specialities, I'm able to harness those specialties within the whole mission of delivering back to the students. And I believe my ideas of simply taking Garneau and making it more external, open it to the community, because we are here at school to learn. This is our home away from home. But it doesn't mean we cannot open up our school to the neighborhood. And I believe what we can do is Garneau has to become more and more of an external force that can change and radically change the community amongst ourselves. So.
Helen, if you want.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys so much again for coming here, because even coming here, you guys show your dedication for the school. And if I become elected SAC president, I'd be so happy to work with all of you. Because I think how I'm different, because these two are Nelson and Reese are both really great candidates, is because I really care not just about like my platform, because sometimes we have like strict rules of like, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do, but I really care about your opinions. So if I do get elected SAC president, I really have the feedback form, so you guys can tell me what you want to see in the school. If you don't like one of my campaign promises, let me know. We can amend it or change it anyway, because it's all about you guys. It's not about me. It's not about like my promises or like what I hope to see in the school. It's about what you hope to see in the school. And through a lot of like different extracurriculars activities, I've really taken a lot of risks, learned how to like develop leadership skills, and worked with people of different like ethnicities, cultures, ages, and different groups. So I'd love to work with all of you. Thank you so much.
Nelson.
Great. So the thing that differentiates me from all of candidates this year and in many previous years is my age. I am currently in grade 10. That means when I become elected president, I have one more year after that. My skin is still in the game. I am accountable for my actions, because whatever I do, I'm still here for another year, being with you. As well as the fact that if I do anything wrong, I have to live up with that for another year. Second thing about my age is that imagine what a president can do with 2 years in office. Imagine what Lisa can do if she was here for another year, continuing the house color system, continuing all her amazing initiatives done this year. Just imagine that. Because the thing is, with my age, even though I am only in grade 10, my experience is unrivaled here. I've led pep rallies, I've executed international shows, I've made our house color point system to complement our house color system. So even though I may not be a senior next year, and some seniors may be concerned that I won't be able to live up to them, I am willing and I am able to listen to every single one of you, so we can make amazing progress in the years ahead.
Okay, so I've finished all my questions, so if anyone in the crowd wants to ask either all the candidates or one of the candidates. Go ahead.
So, Nelson, you mentioned Frosh Week,
Yes.
I think. Can you expand on that a bit?
So pretty much, school starts on Tuesday, right? Because Monday is Labor Day on the first day of school. From Tuesday to Friday, what we'll be having is each day we'll be having different events. There may be house charades and other big events that we can